Concrete Jungle is quite the mashup. Part deck building, part turn-based strategy, and part puzzle, all skinned as a city builder, this game is undoubtedly one of the most unique games I have played recently. The overall goal of Concrete Jungle is to build your deck as you play, place cards strategically to get points on the board, /field, /ground, land, whatever you want to call it. And as you earn points, you will clear columns. Clear enough columns and you win the round. It sounds simple, and it is, but the game has a surprising amount of depth. First, let's talk about Concrete Jungle's aesthetics. The visuals of Concrete Jungle, quite frankly, are stunning. I admit that sometimes I tend to be fairly harsh on 2D games due to having a background in graphic design, but this game far surpasses my admittedly high bar. Yes, I know this game is isometric, but generally, my same principles apply here.
Let's go, team!
The city tiles look as beautiful as the ones in the most recent SimCity release, which, despite the flawed gameplay, was a very pretty game. The game really shows off with the post-release edition of Night Mode, where neon lights up the game's skyline and cars adorn the roads like holiday lights. See? Look at those little cars! The UI is also extremely well designed and intuitive, and not once did I feel confused looking for a setting, perusing deck building options, or playing the game itself. It's also worth noting that while I did not play this game with a controller, despite the fact that it does have controller support, I'm a mouse and keyboard kind of girl, it's very clear that the UI was thoroughly tested on both controllers and mice and keyboard for a good experience no matter your preference. Unfortunately, this can't be said for a lot of titles out there, so bonus points for Concrete Jungle. Okay, so let's talk about the gameplay now. Prior to every match, you'll have the opportunity to change your character and your cards. Your characters are more than avatars and voices, however. Characters also have their own skill trees, which lend themselves to different gameplay styles. There are characters that are a bit more high risk and high reward, such as Mayor Selfridge, your first unlockable character. Some that tend more towards deck control, like your very first character, Lainey. And other characters rely on certain types of tech or buildings to get things done. So then, you can adjust your starting deck to fit your gameplay style, or in this case, the style of the chosen character, by removing and adding up to 12 cards in your starting deck. In the game, you choose between two different game modes, Solo and Versus. Solo mode is essentially like a deck building puzzle, and the only goal here is to clear a predetermined set of columns. Versus mode pits you either against AI or a local player. Here, you will only have access to part of the map. This mode, with a few exceptions in the campaign, is usually 6 rows deep. The top 2 rows essentially belong to you, the bottom 2 belong to your opponent. The central 2 rows and the first column remain neutral. This means that you can only build in neutral areas or in places you own, and therefore earn points in those areas. You can and should still try to annoy your opponent by placing buildings with negative effects near their territory though. The goal here is to earn the most points by the time you clear a set number of columns. In both modes, there are commonalities. You have point-earning buildings, these are almost always some form of housing, and buildings that have effects on nearby tiles. These buildings provide a positive or negative point value to the land surrounding it, and your goal is to get enough points on the positive land to clear columns and advance the game. You also have 2 values to keep track of, economy points and expenditure points. Economy points are good to get. These points allow you to purchase new cards to add to your deck, and this is how you get better and better cards, since you can only start the game with cards in Tier 1, or they allow you to move down your skill tree. Expenditure points, though, are not so great. These will raise the number of points needed to clear a column, making the game more difficult. Once you hit the number of points needed in your column after placing buildings, the column will turn green. If it's the column furthest to the left, it will clear. You can chain some points by clearing many rows at once, too. There are a few other things that you may need to pay attention to, and a few other minor rules, but you will easily learn all about these in the tutorial levels. So even though I'm sure you can guess what my recommendation is going to be, I did want to talk real quick about one more thing before giving you guys my final recommendation on Concrete Jungle. In my opinion, the best thing about Concrete Jungle, aside from the gameplay, is the humor. The game has a great set of characters that are voiced very well by their actors. The campaign mode tells a story of a city that starts off with a terrible mayor and a lot of problems, and the characters that team up to help the city become a better place to live. And actually, now that I'm saying that, it kind of sounds a lot like Parks and Rec. But it actually is funny. I'll be honest, I was surprised.
Hello, and welcome to the beautiful Cider Rapids. This is a famous national park in Greenbelt area. What is this?
Hello there. I'm Rick Selfridge, recently elected mayor of Caribou City. Welcome to Selfie Park. Do you like the roller coaster? I designed it myself. Just between you and me, it failed its safety inspection this morning, so I would stay clear of it for now. Unless you're feeling adventurous, in which case, Godspeed to you.
What the
You must be Lainey Thompson.
Where did you find the room in the budget for this? I assume you have corporate sponsorships?
Lainey, I don't want the city to worry about silly commercial sponsorships, so that's why we don't have any. Look at the city's budget sheet. The numbers are all in the black.
Those are clearly minus figures.
Oh. My printer is out of color ink again?
Okay, so recommendation time. Overall, I would say Concrete Jungle is an essential purchase for anyone who's thinking about this title. I thoroughly enjoyed this game, but there are a couple things that I do think everyone should note before purchasing. First, this game is missing an online multiplayer mode. While this might not be a big deal for many, playing versus mode locally requires you to play Hot Seat. This doesn't work very well if you aren't using a controller or if you have a smaller screen, and I would be very happy if an online versus mode was added in the future. It's also worth noting that this game is not technically a city builder and is more like a board game skinned as a city builder. This is similar to how Ticket to Ride is about building train routes, but is really just a token placement game. Obviously, this isn't a problem for me, and it won't be a problem for most, but just keep in mind that no actual elements of city building exist in Concrete Jungle. My recommendation for Concrete Jungle? Buy.
Yeah, it was like that when I got here.
Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for future video reviews and other gaming-related content. You can also find us on Twitter at Heroine_gaming, and you can visit us on the web at www.heroinegaming.com. Bye for now.